I do not think it would be an exaggeration to say that the Nintendo Switch was the birthplace of so many new ideas and so many new series. A video game console that was so different from the other competitors on the market that it allowed so many other developers to start experimenting on the platform. Not only Nintendo Switch housed so many indie developers, but it also felt like the perfect place to play certain types of games, and JRPGs felt right at home on the Nintendo Switch. And so many games got the opportunity to shine on the Nintendo Switch. Looking at the first 2 or 3 years of the Nintendo Switch, you can see that there are so many different ideas and so many creative games being developed and released on the platform. And it also seemed like it was the breakthrough for so many AA titles like Ys 8 or Atelier Ryza. But there was one game that came out in 2018 on the Nintendo Switch, and it was the birth of the HD 2D style of games. And it was none other than Octopath Traveler. I remember the reception to Octopath Traveler announcement at the time being very mixed. Some people were saying that this is nothing more than a cash grab trying to exploit people's nostalgia for 16-bit JRPG games from SNES era, and there were so many other people saying that this feels right at home that Square Enix is releasing a game like this on the Nintendo platform, and it feels like two old friends collaborating with each other again. But one thing was for certain, that the key to success of Octopath Traveler was timing. Octopath Traveler came out in 2018, the Nintendo Switch was very young and fresh, and there were so many people looking for different titles to play on their new console. Ever since that day we have seen so many other HD 2D games either developed by Square Enix or others, and even Square Enix themselves are really loving this art style, remaking some of their old titles like Live Alive or Dragon Quest III in this style. And there are so many people asking for Square Enix to maybe even remake the old Final Fantasy titles like this. And even Octopath Traveler itself got a sequel, which was a very big surprise to me because I was thinking that maybe Octopath Traveler is a one and done game. But after playing through Octopath Traveler 2 from beginning to end, I feel like Octopath Traveler 2 is what everyone wanted the original to be. As you might know, Octopath Traveler starts with you picking one of the 8 beginning protagonists and then trying to find the other travelers and recruiting them as well. Even though I remember that the merchant was the most broken character in the Octopath Traveler 1, I started Octopath Traveler 2 playing as Hikari, the warrior. And from the beginning, Hikari's story starts on a very good note, giving him a very good reason why he should travel across the land, finding allies. Soon enough, I've met Particio, and that story also started on a great note, giving Particio a very good reason why he should leave his homeland trying to travel across the world. And this is where I think Octopath Traveler 2 did better than Octopath Traveler 1, and it was their motive to start a journey. And the characters in the second game felt more engaging and more likable. In the first game I liked Cyrus, Ulbrich, Primrose, and maybe Tyrion. But in the second game every character felt engaging and felt more memorable than the first one. My favorite character and my favorite storyline of the game was Temenos, the cleric, because his story felt the most engaging and most original out of the bunch, and it felt like it had more to do with the overarching story of the entire game than the rest of the cast. Visually, Octopath Traveler 2 is what you expect from HD 2D titles by Square Enix. Beautiful visuals, amazing pixel art, and beautiful lightings. One of the things that made the original Octopath Traveler so special was the beautiful masterpiece OST, and the second game is nothing less of the first game. At certain points, I would say Octopath Traveler 2 has even better tracks than the first game. And seeing the music and the ambiance changing based on the time in the game, whether it's day or night, it was one of the most amazing things in both games, and in Octopath Traveler 2, I found myself humming the music. Another thing that I feel like the second game did better than the first one was the character interactions. In a game where the characters don't really interact with each other much because every character has their own storyline and they are just traveling together, I feel like the second game had better dialogues between the characters, like Oswald and Ochet being my favorite. Not to mention their post-story section where two characters engage in one storyline, my favorite being Oswald and Partitios. Now, the second game, in my opinion, started to really improve upon the problems of the first game and solved the most of them. But there is one problem that is still unsolved, and that is the unfair boss fights. I know it may sound like a skill issue or this is just JRPGs, you have to deal with it, but Octopath Traveler is a very grindy game, and the boss fights are very unfair at some points. You may be grinding for hours leveling up your characters just to get one shot by a single boss attack. And there is still one problem with the first game that the second game didn't solve and it still has, and that is you have to include the first character that you chose as your starting protagonist in the party, and he can't go outside the party. As I said, I started with Hikari, so he became my permanent party member and I couldn't change him, so I wanted to level up all of my characters, but one character got less XP because I couldn't change Hikari for them, so I had to grind even more trying to level up all of my characters. I know this is a small issue, but it's really annoying when you can't level up all your characters that you want. But overall, the second game is far more fair than the first one. And this time what blew me away was the overarching story and the subtle hints that we got from each of their storylines at the end of the game. So in the end, I find it really sad that the second game did not get the same love as the first one did. Even though the second game, in my opinion, is way more complete and way more special than the first Octopath Traveler. Maybe it was because that we already had Live Alive or Triangle Strategy, or maybe it was because of Square Enix's poor marketing strategy. Even though at launch this game was on PS5 and PC as well as Nintendo Switch, it meant that it should sell more than the first game, yet it didn't. Nonetheless, Octopath Traveler 2 is a really special JRPG that I played, and it's gonna be one of my most memorable games of all time. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. And also tell me in the comments, did you play this game? What do you think of Octopath Traveler 2? Until next time, take care.